I want to ask you guys a favor. It's becoming sort of interesting how we're seeing, a lot of science deniers and, creationists, people who are anti-global warming either for financial, corporate, shill sort of means or conspiracy theorist means. People are sort of denying science, the evidence of science. You'll see people who will say, oh, that's just your opinion, man, and that I have this alternative, teach the controversy, all these people. And there's a very good side effect that comes from these people having a voice, is that both people who are educated and laymen's who have no reason to distrust science are recoiling from this social movement of science denialism and being very forthright about it. You're seeing the rise of, I love science, and lots of science social media posts, pro-science types of culture rising online. You're seeing celebrities being made out of people like Michio Kaku or Neil deGrasse Tyson or even Richard Dawkins. And this is a good thing, but it, like all good things, has sort of a double-edged sword, sort of that antithesis to the silver lining in a storm cloud. People sometimes lend a very credulous weight to what is presented to them by a extremely, intensely, dangerously irresponsible news media. If the news media presents something to them in a scientific context, that they lay this tone of credibility on something, that people will chew it up. And the major boogeyman here that I'm here to warn you about is a study says, or this study reports, or a new study from blank organization or university says this. The public generally does not know what is good science in terms of a study. A study is just taking a sample and reporting what you find, and methodology is everything. In terms of anti-feminist news, very recently there was the study on some college men that said, 38% of college men would rape if they could, or had fantasies of rape, or wanted to rape women. I may be incorrect about that percentage, but it doesn't matter because the study is bunk. It was a study done on less than 100 men in a single college campus. And it's presented to you through the news media, who just runs with viral bullshit, as all college men, this percentage of them want to rape you. This study was of less than 100 men, just a few dozen men in a single location, not to mention any unethical practice in the study that would have been the result of the way it was worded or the way it was interpreted. And these kinds of studies are very often only readable through a paywall. A lot of studies, no matter how bullshit or not they are, cost money to read. But you'll see headlines rushed with these studies that say this study found this, with nothing to say about whether or not that study had a political agenda or a social agenda or rampant fucking confirmation bias. And we see confirmation bias in studies of our most important issues from our most prestigious national entities. I've seen it discussed. The CDC had a huge study of rape statistics across all of America, all reported rapes. This study had an error in its methodology that was meant to be representative of all rape cases across the entire United States. It did not consider a woman forcing sex on a man to qualify as rape. It also termed many cases that were strictly sexual assault but did not resort in forced intercourse, it classified those cases of sexual assault as full-blown rape, which we're already having this problem with reclassification of terms where shit gets watered down. Where you got these videos saying, I got raped when my mother called the way my friend dressed a slut. You know, that fucking stupid-ass video I'm sure you've all seen. Where you got eye rape, stare rape, raping me by not letting me talk, or some bullshit like that. Using emotionally charged words that do mean something worthy of emotional charge inappropriately on purpose to provoke a response. So you're seeing just this one concept, this one subject I can pick apart like that. So I would ask you, my viewers, whenever you hear something that goes, a study said blank, and that blank could be anything. If you're a liberal or a progressive, it could be, study says all conservatives are morons. Study says atheists are more intelligent than believers. Any of this shit. Do not lend any, and I do mean any fucking credence, to any fucking study ever fucking ever. Because a study is only as good as its methodology. A study is only as good as its sample size and proper interpretation of data. Studies can be utterly fucking worthless fucking mockeries of science. But you wouldn't know the difference because the news media will run with anything. This is why you'll see it more common nowadays for people to kind of recoil from studies for a more superficial reason. Study says chocolate's good for you. Study says chocolate's bad for you. Study says red wine's bad for you. Study says red wine is good for you. Study says this about fucking this food, and this food causes cancer. Oh, this food doesn't cause cancer. That should be a fucking red flag to you. Why are these constantly finding contradictory results? It's because the methodology is different. Probably often flawed. And the news media can't tell the difference and doesn't think you will either. The news media is selling you a product. Watch this. This is sensational. And you, even if you don't trust the news media, might say, ooh, science. Studies are hard science. No, they're fucking not. A study is only good as its sample size, its methodology, and the fucking proper interpretation of data to draw a reasonable conclusion. And this is so fucking frequently not fucking done properly. Do not trust any headline ever that says a study says, unless you can go look at the study or at least listen to somebody who has seen the study. If it's something that's under a fucking $35 paywall or some bullshit, and can confirm at least some measure of the methodology, particularly the sample size should be as high as fucking possible. And did they reasonably interpret their data? Because very frequently, it's not so. It's some university grad student running some fucking small-scale study with no sample size, shit methodology for the express purpose of that student or whatever, this organization trying to, through confirmation bias, present a narrative on purpose. They want this study to say something rather than they want to investigate and discover a fact about reality. They want to abuse science and abuse the integrity of science to convince you, the public, of something that may or very well may not be true. Thank you for watching.